Hey guys, welcome to Find Your Flow. I am Natalie and today we're going to be sending oodles and bundles of love to the spinal area. So remember, you are only as young as your spine. Hop onto your mat and I'll meet you there. Okay, so everybody coming to stand at the back of your mat in a mountain pose, which is where we're going to start our practice. Feet hips distance apart, if not a tiny bit wider. Toes tracking forwards, knees softly bending over the toes. And then bringing our attention right away to our spine. And starting off with the pelvis area. If we're tilting our pelvis back or forwards, can we be aware of this? Bringing the hands to the two aces bones either side of the hips and finding this central point in between, sticking out and thrusting forward. And everybody's will look slightly different depending on the curvature of the spine and all sorts of different things, but just feel this central part and start to become aware of the way the pelvis moves, and then spread this length all the way through the lower back, mid back, upper back to the crown of the head. And closing the eyes, hands resting down by your sides. Start to feel the earth beneath you through all four corners of both feet, each of our toes on the ground, spreading our weight evenly as we invite this nice, smooth inhales and exhales in through the nose and out through the nose. And then imagining somebody has a piece of string attached to the crown of our head, like we're a puppet. And on your next inhale, that piece of string is being pulled towards the sky. We reach even taller, lifting a little longer in the spine. Exhale, stay nice and long and just keep the shoulders relaxed from beneath the ears. 2 more times. Inhaling, reach even taller. Exhale, soften, stay here. Once more, really be aware of this pelvic tilt. Beautiful. Can we find this slight lift in our heart? Imagine we're radiating and reaching it towards the skies. The shoulders come back down towards the back body. Everybody bringing both hands onto the stomach space, finding 3 deep breaths. Noticing what happens to the stomach as we inhale and exhale. Reminding ourselves to keep the stomach area really soft as we go through the rest of our practice. Setting an intention to be kind. Listen to our body, and then when we finish these 3 breaths, bringing the hands onto the rib cage so the fingers spread wide like butterfly wings. And again, 3 breaths here. Notice how we feel. Really check in with the sensations. Beautiful. And then reaching the hands up onto the chest near the heart space. 3 breaths. Keeping the spine nice and tall. And then hands float together at the heart. And let's start to rub the hands together nice and quickly. You might like to open the eyes here if you feel more comfortable. You can keep them closed if that feels good. And speeding up this friction that we're creating in the hands, rubbing them together even more. Even more. And then when we let go, we're going to take our hands to a space on our body that we might feel needs to send a little bit more love and support. It might be the back body, it might be the shoulders, the lower back, the front body, the stomach, anywhere at all. And releasing. send your love there, closing the eyes. Notice what you can feel. And you maybe feel a sensation of some vibration or tingling. Sending some energy to this space, lots and lots of extra love. Finding one more breath here. Before releasing the hands, opening the eyes, and taking the hands to the back of the head. Getting some juicy movement in our spine, the blood flowing, making everything feel good. Sending our left elbow down towards the ground, really feeling into this space in our right side body, keeping the heart space lifted. If we're noticing a little bit of a collapse here, then maybe we don't bend so far, keeping this nice and open. And then sending the left hand down the left leg. We'll reach the right hand to the sky and then over towards the left side and take our gaze down towards our left toes or left hand. If it doesn't feel great to drop it down this much, just take it out to the side. Being really gentle as we warm up the body. And then hands come back to the head and over to the right side. Nice. Stay here for a breath first, really finding the space in the intercostal muscles in the ribs. And then releasing the right arm down, lifting the left arm up and then over, but keeping this reach, imagining that piece of string in the crown of the head. Taking the gaze down towards the right foot. And still feeling our weight spread nice and evenly. Make sure we're not dumping our weight and collapsing into one side. One more breath. And then hands come back to the head. We lift our way back through center and curl forward, chin towards the chest, rounding through the spine. And then reaching the arms out in front, palms float towards each other. Nice. Notice the tilt in the pelvis. We make sure we're not really tucking everything under here, just feeling this in the spine. Nice. And then hands back to the head, lifting up and lifting our gaze. Heart reaches towards the sky. And releasing our arms back, finding our airplane wings. Nice. Can we find even more space between our shoulders and our earlobes? One more breath. And hands come all the way back to the head. We lift to center and finding a circle in one direction and then the other. So inviting a little bit more of a fluidity here as we go down to the left. Keeping the hands on the head, we roll forwards all the way around to the right and lifting our way back up now to the other side, over to the right. Forwards to the left and back. Nice. And from here, releasing the arms, just rolling the shoulders forwards, round and back. And we should be at the back of our mat still. So in our mountain pose, feel the feet firmly and curl the chin towards the chest. Start to roll down into a forward fold. Take this nice and slow. Nice bend in the knees. Sending some love to the hamstrings, the lower back. Letting the arms really hang heavy, the head loose. And then imagine we have some Lego bricks and we're wanting to build a tower. We stack one piece of Lego on top of the other. This is like our spine. One vertebra stacks on top of the other at a time as we rise and lift our way back up to standing in our mountain pose. And as soon as you arrive at the top, chin down and rolling back, almost like a continuous lift up and down, but keeping this slow and soft. Making sure we're breathing. And doing this 3 times in total. So if you're doing it at a similar pace to me, we've got one more time to roll down and then all the way back up. and finishing on a roll down. We'll start to meet here in your own time. And when you arrive in your final forward fold, just softly sway, hanging heavy like a pendulum, left to right. And then everybody, hands down to the ground, we bend the knees, rock onto the toes as we sit onto the heels. Just opening through the feet here, rocking left to right, keeping this nice length in the spine, and then bringing the knees down to the ground, completely sitting back on our tucked toes. And if this is too much, we might like to lift up onto the knees, taking whatever support you want under to pad the knee space as always. And then taking the left hand to the outer right thigh. We're going to reach our right arm behind us as we spiral our ribcage over towards the right side and reach into a twist. Now notice straight away where we have the gaze. Does it feel good to crank the head around all the way back? Or does it feel a bit better to maybe look forwards or look diagonally? We're looking to really come to find this twist in our thoracic spine, so this part right here. This is where most of the juiciness happens. So enjoy this and then float your way back to center onto the other side. Right hand to the outer left thigh, left hand swims behind and reaches away. Inhaling to lift a little taller, exhale, twist. Perhaps we go a little deeper today, maybe we don't. Listen to your body. Finding one more breath. Before making your way all the way back to center, jumping forwards, tabletop. Just untuck the toes for a moment and just let the feet breathe. Get the blood flushing all around the feet, the toes, and then come to tuck the toes again. Reaching the hands a little bit further forward, finding circles, so hips come over to the right. But really exaggerate these as we sit back over the toes and then over to the left. Before rocking all the way forwards, and keep moving here in this circle. And maybe you get the head and neck involved. In fact, I encourage you to if this feels good. Bending the elbows, sending love to the hips. And then reverse your circle when you're ready in the opposite direction. And don't worry so much about how this looks, but really tune into how it feels. Maybe close the eyes here. And then make your way all the way back, tabletop all fours, untucking the toes. Wrists beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips. Curling our way into cat pose, tailbone floats down, we arch the spine, drop our gaze, really press our way into this angry cat, rounding through the spine. And then moving with your breath, lifting the tailbone, rolling through each vertebrae, tummy floats down, we gaze slightly forward. Keeping the back of the neck nice and long so we aren't crunching up or collapsing down. Then make your way back into your cat pose. Really feel the spine stacking, rolling like a wave, cresting and falling, floating through to cow. Nice, and one more time. Arching into your angry cat. Maybe you waggle your tail from side to side here. Just loosen up and then floating your way through cow pose. Again, option to wag the tail if this feels great for you today. Floating back into our neutral spine, we'll send the left leg out long behind us and just rock forwards and back a couple of times before making your way to center and crossing the left leg over towards the right side of the mat. And then curling around, taking your gaze towards your left foot and breathing into the side body. Keep pressing through the palms to lift out of the shoulder space. Keep the left heel sending away. Nice, and then make your way all the way back to center. Bring the knee towards the nose as we round through the spine. Really feel the skin of the back body stretching and opening. And then making your way back to tabletop. Tuck those toes under. Connecting to our center. Really pressing away from the ground in the upper body. We're going to hover our knees off the earth, helping to protect our lower back by strengthening our deep abdominal muscles and our core center. So just breathe deep here. Keep spreading through the fingers. Notice where your attention is as we gaze down right in between the hands. Lovely, lovely long neck, an extension of our lovely long spine. And then releasing. Nice. Untuck the toes. If you want to just come off the hands a little bit here, shake the wrists out. And then feel free to do so before jumping on back into tabletop. Sending the right leg out behind, rocking forwards and back a couple of times, just easing into the back of the right leg. And then making your way through center, right leg scoots behind the left. And then we take our gaze around towards the right foot. Again, keep pressing into the ground, lifting tall. Imagine that we're lengthening through all four sides of the torso. So left, right, front, back, every single part of us is nice and long. Making your way back to center, curling the knee towards the nose, rounding through the spine. Nice, and then everybody release. Tabletop, tuck the toes under. Press into the palms to lift the space in between the shoulder blades and then hover the knees off. Nice. Feel this agni or fire being created in the belly. Making sure we aren't locking into the elbows. Keeping a nice micro bend here. Don't forget to smile. Nice. One more breath. And then everybody release the knees. Take them nice and wide. Toes come to touch as we sit back in a child's pose, and make this child's pose your own. If it doesn't feel good, knees wide, we can bring the knees closer together, maybe the arms float back. Take what support you need under the forehead or the hips and allow yourself to release here. Remember, this is your resting posture. You can come to this at any time throughout any practice, or even just throughout your day, just to help you feel good. And take a moment to recenter your attention on your breath. So really take this time to come back to those inhales and exhales, listening to the body, and then lifting your way all the way up and out to tuck the toes under, bringing the knees back to parallel, and then sitting back, reaching the arms out in front and lengthening through the spine first. Press into the palms to lead with the hips, lift them all the way up into a downward facing dog and pedal through the heels. Really just loosen up the back body. Making sure we have a nice bend in the knees. And the more we bend our knees, the more length we might be able to find in our spine. So really just explore how this feels. Keep the hips really, really, really lifted. Beautiful. And everybody, start to bring the knees down towards the ground, sitting back on the heels, but keep the knees hovering off. As we send the hips high, almost coming to downward facing dog, but then curling into an angry cat as we roll and shift our weight forwards. Shoulders over the wrists, and then heart space lifts forwards, coming into an upward facing dog. Keeping this rolling here, we're going to send our hips back. Hover the knees off as we send the hips high, curling through angry cat. And then lifting the heart forwards. Finding extension, gaze lifts slightly, nice. Keep rolling here. Really finding the sense of fluidity in the spine. Imagine we really are a wave, cresting and falling. Keep breathing. hips high in a downward facing dog. So take your time to arrive there, there's no rush. And from our down dog, walking our hands all the way back to our feet, finding a forward fold, bending the knees. Inhaling to lift up halfway, come to find a flat back. Hands can reach behind, finding our airplane wings again, on the thighs, the shins, maybe fingertips on the ground, wherever we are. Keep nice and tall through the spine. And then exhaling to fold. Pressing down through the feet, we'll rise all the way up to standing, reach for the sky with the arms. Float them all the way up. And soften the shoulders, reach nice and tall. Find that piece of string again, reaching us towards the sky. One more breath here. And then taking the right hand back, left hand forward. Keeping our hips traveling towards the front of our mat. We'll twist over towards the right side. So again, exploring this through the rib cage area. And then reach the hands all the way to center, twisting over to the left. Left hand back, right hand forward. Nice, keeping the knees nice and soft. Then making our way all the way back up, reaching the hands. And on an exhale, curling the chin towards the chest, rolling down like a rag doll into our forward fold, Uttanasana. On your inhale, lift up halfway, your flat back. Exhale to release, walking the hands forward into a downward facing dog. And then from your downward facing dog, finding this angry cat as we curl the spine all the way towards the sky, shift our way forward, shoulders over the wrists, come to find a plank pose. Now we can have the knees lifted here or lower than down, choose your own adventure. Keep pressing through the palms, really lifting strong in the upper body. And everybody send their elbows behind us, weight stays forwards as we float all the way down to the earth. Taking our feet nice and wide, sending super extra amounts of love to the sacrum, and then bringing our forearms onto the mat in front. With our elbows beneath our shoulders, we'll spread through our fingers and pressing down into the forearms as we lift our heart further forward into our Sphinx pose. So lengthen through the back of the neck. If we're crunching all the way up, ooh, no, or collapsing down, notice this, lovely long line. Send the shoulders away from the ears. And then float the left shoulder to the center and gaze past the right shoulder. Nice, making your way back to center and over to the left side. So right shoulder comes through center. Keep pressing into the forearms. And then making your way all the way back. Lifting a little taller. And then releasing. Bringing the hands back towards the rib cage as we press our way all the way up to tuck the toes under. Make our way downward facing dog. Lead with the hips. Finding some fluidity with our movement here, like a super slinky snake. And then walking the hands back to the feet, finding Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhaling to lift up halfway, your flat back. Exhaling to fold. Rooting down to rise up to mountain as we reach for the sky with our arms. Softening the shoulders and twisting over to the right, keeping our hips facing forwards, taking a nice open twist in the arms. And making our way back to center and then over to the left side. Coming all the way back, reaching nice and tall, and then chin comes towards the chest and we release, rolling down, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And this time as we fold forwards, if we have a prop here, we might like to use it. in the center of where our feet are. We're taking our left hand to the center, either on the ground, on our fingertips, or on our prop. We're going to imagine that we have a bow and arrow in our hand, and we're drawing our arrow back with our right hand, reaching it all the way up and either towards the small of the back or towards the sky. Finding a twist here, and as we do this, we'll bend our left knee generously, start to straighten through the right leg, finding a little bit more of a twist through our center, and really just listen to what feels good here. If we need a little bit more height, we can find more height with whatever props we have. And maybe we gaze up towards the sky, or maybe we don't today. Maybe that's for another day entirely, or never at all. So just take one more breath here. And then floating back to center, right hand replaces the left. Left hand draws back like an arrow, reaches all the way towards the small of the back or the sky as we bend the right knee and straighten through the left leg. But making sure we're not locking into this knee joint, always keeping that micro bend there. And then releasing, floating back into our fold and walking the hands forward, downward facing dog. And from our down dog, we're going to find that angry cat as we roll forwards. Really find this articulation through the spine, coming into our plank pose. Knees lifted or lowered, sending the elbows behind us, weight shifts forward as we float our way down to the ground. Taking the feet wide, this time bringing our hands back by our rib cage. Pressing down into the palms, sending the shoulders forwards, round and back, lifting the heart. Cobra, taking it nice and small for now, and releasing. 2 more times. We're coming into our Bhujangasana, but making sure that we aren't just cranking into it with our arms, really exploring this strength we can find in our back body to help protect our spine. So inhaling and lifting on the exhale. Once more. Beautiful. Making your way all the way back, pressing into the palms, tucking the toes and lifting the hips, downward facing dog. Take your time to arrive there. And from down dog, walking the hands back to the feet, finding your Uttanasana, inhaling to lift up halfway, exhaling to fold. Rooting down, you rise up to standing, grow nice and tall through the spine. This time hands come together down at the heart as we send our sitting bones back behind us. Bend the knees, chair pose, Utkatasana. Noticing the pelvic tilt here that we explored earlier. Are we rocking all the way out or all the way forwards? Can we find this central space? Trust yourself. Trust your practice, breathe deep. Feel the weight spread through the feet and really notice how we are turning on some muscles here in the lower body. Just smile. Nice. And then taking the hands to the rib cage, staying here in our chair pose with our lower body as we twist our upper body from our ribcage over towards the right side. And then releasing our arms, maybe we sit back a little lower, bringing the left hand to the outside of the right thigh and reaching the right hand again either to the small of the back or up towards the sky, finding an open chair twist. Breathing in, breathing out, floating back to center, hands to the rib cage, and we come over to the left side. Again, keeping the knees where they are so we're not scooting over to one side or the other. Right hand to the outer left leg, left hand either to the small of the back or reach it up for the sky. Find where you are today. Making your way all the way back to center. Lengthen the legs, reach the hands all the way to the sky. And then soften the arms. Taking the arms nice and wide, crossing the left arm over the right, just hugging yourself in here. As we find this hug, we're going to curl our chin towards our chest, round forwards. Nice. And then lift it back, reaching a little bit towards the sky. Beautiful. Releasing, taking the arms, floating them out wide and crossing the right arm over the top of the left this time. And again, curling forward, really finding that flexion. Breathing into the back body, feeling the ribs expand. And then inhaling, open. Softening the shoulders. And coming all the way back, releasing the arms, chin tucks towards the chest, down into Uttanasana. Take your time. And walking the hands forwards, finding our final downward facing dog. Make it a good one. Really feel what you feel. Just loosen everything out. Beautiful. Float the knees nice and wide onto the earth and find your version of child's pose. Notice where the attention might drift to here. And just keep it on this space. Remembering where you sent that extra love with the palms earlier. Noticing how that space feels now. Not comparing it or judging anything in any way. Just really being with the sensation without labeling it as good or bad. Simply noticing it as it is. And nice and slowly lifting your way up. Going to scoot the legs to one side and finding a comfortable seat with our feet on the ground in front of us. Hands come back behind us, facing the fingertips forwards towards the front of our mat. And we're just going to inhale and reach the heart, lift the gaze. Keeping this nice and fluid, exhale, rolling through the spine, chin towards the chest. As we come back to our neutral spine, we'll press into the palms and into the soles of the feet as we start to float the hips up towards the sky. Finding some beautiful thoracic extension here in our reverse tabletop. So don't worry if your hips aren't lifting all the way up. Take this wherever you are, keeping the toes on the ground. One more breath. And then releasing hips, flow all the way down. On your next in-breath, we lift our heart, lift our gaze. Exhale, chin towards the chest, curling through. Making our way back, neutral spine, hips start to lift away from the ground. Keep the toes on the earth. Notice where the head and neck are. Are we coming all the way back or crunching forward? Keeping that glorious long line. And then slowly releasing. Finding this one more time. I know the arms are talking to you. Finding strength everywhere, supporting the body. Inhaling, lift. Exhaling, fold. Float your way to center. No rush. Lift the hips. Rise. One more breath here. I know you can do it. Breathe deep. Exhale to slowly soften your hips down to the ground. And hug over the legs. Beautiful. From here, and reach the arms out in front. Curling the chin towards the chest, we'll start to roll ourselves back down onto the ground. But when we get halfway, staying there, really feeling this connection, this wake up in our center. Maybe we explore going a little bit further, really testing this strength here. Nice, you can do it. I know you might be shaking like a washing machine. I am too. Just stick with it, breathe. And then release, low back, mid back, upper back, shoulders, neck, head. Nice. From here, take the legs out long, reach the arms all the way back behind you. Really send away through the heels and through the fingertips. One big breath. Exhale to release, hug the knees in, find Apanasana. The knees come a little bit wider towards the armpit space, and we just curl into this nice ball here, but keeping the head relaxed. Option to rock from side to side if that feels good. Nice, then making our way back to center, hugging the right leg all the way up and in. Left leg floats long. And then guiding the right knee over towards the left side of the mat into a twist, keeping our shoulder blades rooted down onto the ground. Option to keep the right hand close to the body on the ribs or open out wide. And again, notice where we want to have our gaze today. We aren't looking to really reach our edge and crank into a position, but rather experience and explore this, making sure this feels good. Getting some blood flowing around the entire body, sending some nutrients and juiciness to the spine. On your next exhale, float your way back to center and hug the left leg in, right leg long. Really hugging it in first before taking it over, guiding it towards the right side of the mat. And one side might feel totally different to the other, so really just feel this. Exhaling, make your way all the way back. One more time in Apanasana, hugging everything in. This time, curling the chin towards the chest, forehead towards the knees, coming into a tight football shape. And on your next exhale, lengthen the legs, release the arms, come to lie in our final and most precious resting posture. Shavasana. Now if this doesn't feel great for you with the legs out long, we might have a bolster cushion underneath the hamstrings that would feel great. Or bending the knees, feet to the mat. And allowing the knees to come together and the thighs to internally rotate to take any effort out of this posture. We've got lots of energy shifted in our practice today. We got lots and lots of fluidity found in the spinal area, which is really important. As I said at the start, you are only as young as your spine. Think about that and how we can incorporate more spinal movement into our other yoga practices or our other movement work that we do. Maybe when we're at work, driving in our sofa, having our dinner, anything at all. Just become aware of the spine and this pelvic space. And just this awareness alone can help us to find more length, stability, help improve our posture. And help to generally make us feel a little bit better and move a bit easier in our everyday lives. Nice. Starting to wiggle the fingers and toes. And come to wake up the body, perhaps moving the wrists and the ankles. Taking anything that feels good, leaving it if it doesn't. In your own time, rolling to your right side, lightly pressing into the earth to lift into a comfortable seat. The eyes can stay closed here if you like. And when we arrive here, either keeping the hands where they lie or floating the palms together. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me today. I hope you're feeling great after this practice. And from my heart to yours, Namaste.